This is AutoSave, a book club for video games where we talk about the video games we love and want to explore. And we're continuing our journey with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. We get a couple of awkward date moments, kinda, and even get to ride a few chocobos. And maybe even encounter some Turks while we're at it. To get in on all of the adventure, be sure to tune in right now. Hello and welcome to AutoSave. I'm Camille Salazar-Hadaway, your host, along with this other guy, Mr. Nick Andrade.
I think that might have been the best intro of all time. Yes.
I think so as well. I think that's how we should both just do our intros for the podcast.
And this
every episode.
And
this girl.
Yeah.
And this guy. And today, Nick, guess what?
What?
We finally are on the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth wave, jumping in to Chapter 2. I'm really excited about it because Chapter 1 was jam-packed with so much battles.
Yep.
You had a warm, tender story around a campfire and in fire. I don't know if there was a fire, but it was just reminded me of a campfire story. And then there was a lot more questions that we left with after Chapter 1 that we don't have any answers of. And I feel like based on how Remake went, we probably won't get the answers in this one either. But what we will get is more questions, and I'm hoping that the questions are good as we jump into Chapter 2 and 3, and maybe we'll be able to make sense of something.
I hope so, but I'm gonna guess not, based on how I played these chapters.
Okay, well, we'll talk more about how you played these chapters, because usually you're very thorough. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to have to hear everything that you find. But before we get into Chapter 2 and 3, Nick, you know what time it is. It is time for Question of the Day. And with Final Fantasy VII, if you've played the original, or maybe you don't know, the game really in the original gives you lots of choices. And those choices kind of affect a big moment in the game. It's a date. It affects who you could go on a date with, right?
Yeah.
We saw a little bit of elements in Chapter 1 of the choices that we may have to make in dialogue in order to get our preference. Mm-hmm. But we never actually talked about who our preference is for this date. You mentioned it quickly. So I want to ask you two questions. Firstly, who would be your pick for your date? Your ideal pick, dream date material, and why?
So wait, my ideal date or who I'm dating?
So who you will date in the game, like your ideal date in the game, the person you're going to take on this date, not like what you're going to do on this date, because that's pretty set, and I don't think they're going to change that.
Tifa for sure, no question. And I do feel bad because I want everybody to be on the highest rating of happiness with Cloud, right? Like I want everyone to be friends. But
you just want to be a good guy.
If
you know?
everyone is on the highest level, then it's a wild card for who, I go on a date with. So I got to make sure that Tifa's top of the list. And then I also think like with Aerith, it's like a lot of people will pick her, but I know that, she's romantically involved with Zack also. So I don't want to get in the crosshairs here, okay?
Yeah.
And so it's Tifa all the way for me.
So you're thinking what's best for Cloud? Does Cloud want to be caught up in the emotions of Zack and Aerith, right? You don't want to introduce another love triangle there.
I don't want what's best for Cloud. I want what's best for me.
Okay, all right. I actually chose Tifa as well. I really want to go on a date with Tifa.
I was hoping Red.
Or Red 13. Well, I was just about to say, or Red 13.
Okay.
Because I think that would just be cool. I know prior, you could also go on a date with Barrett, and there's finally a dialogue bit there as well. Yeah. So like I'm also like honestly I think I would replay this game just to see the different date options.
That's what's tough about it. It's like it's not necessarily a game where a lot of your choices matter, but there are a few certain things that you can control. The other annoying thing is that when you select some of these answers, by the way, for what, you know, people, one of your party members will like better or not, you have a certain amount of time before the timer goes out and you can't like pause it. No. So there were times where I'd be like trying to read the question and I'd be like, I can't, I don't even know which one to pick. And then I try to pause and it just, you know, does the worst one, and then they're mad at me. So then I have to load my save from wherever I saved it before because I don't want them to be mad at me. So I want them.
Wait, have you tried pressing the PlayStation button and going to the main menu? Does that like count as a pause?
Unless at the time of doing it, I didn't see any way to pause the menu at all.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
You're putting a lot of thought and dedication into this. So I feel like there would be huge amounts of disappointment if you didn't get Tifa. Yes. But even worse, I want to know who would be like the bottom of the barrel person that you would be so disappointed if you got as a date.
I'd probably say Yuffie because don't really have a relationship with her, right? And I think Barrett's pretty funny, so it'd be nice to go on a date with him. Red is quirky. So he would have some, I think we'd get into some shenanigans on a date. And then Aerith, obviously there's a connection there, and then Tifa as well. But I feel like Tifa, you know, sometimes doesn't want to say what's on her mind with Cloud. So, you know, it's the conversation there. Is it going to be fun conversation? But I think Yuffie would just be annoying to go on a date with.
So I think it would be like, you know, like maybe taking like, I don't know, as like not a date per se, but like just hanging out with a really cool friend if you went with Yuffie. So she's not my bottom of the barrel. But
is it a date? Date or?
I think it would be more like, you know, like, oh, I'm on it like a date with like my mom. I'm on a family date. You know what that, you know how like that's how, if I had to use the term date, it'd be like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's a date, but it's not that kind of date.
So you're friend zoning them right away.
Yes. I mean, Yuffie's also a lot, in my mind, I think Yuffie's a lot younger than Cloud.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. Yeah. But Yuffie to hang out with, no problem. Just as a, you know, casual friends, that's fine. That's fine. What I would be so disappointed in is if I got Aerith. I think because of the connection there, I'm doing everything possible to make sure that doesn't happen. Like, there's just something about childhood friends that, like, I'm a Tifa stand. Like, I can't let Aerith get in the way. And I think I would just be so defeated if I actually got Aerith as a date.
Are we putting all the side characters into this date as well, though? So could it be like Kate Sith? Could it be Sid? Can it be Vincent Valentine? So I'd love to go on a date with Sid.
I would love actually to go on a date with Vincent.
He's just a badass.
Vincent would be fun, though.
He's a vampire, so he might bite you. And then you turn into a vampire.
The beginning of Twilight right there.
Did you ever want to be a vampire growing up?
When I read the Twilight series,
you read it.
And I read it obsessively over the course of 2 weeks.
Okay.
2.5 weeks, 2 weeks. Yeah. I wanted to be a vampire so badly. But the books are better than the movies, so don't hold me as like
bad, but whatever.
What? You heard oh my gosh.
You also never read Harry Potter, but you read Twilight. Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why.
You know what? I think it was just I wasn't into books when Harry Potter came out.
You didn't like.
I wasn't a reader.
Yeah.
No, it's like, who reads? Star Trek's talking about the future. You know, we're gonna have video screens on everything, and I was right. No one reads. We have video screens on everything.
It's true. So
people just listen to podcasts.
You can be illiterate. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. What are these words on the script that I wrote? I have no idea. But what I think it's trying to tell me is that it's time to move in to the next chapter. Remember, last time we saw Zach witness Aerith's death. death, question mark, I think. Cloud told the story of Nibelheim 5 years ago, where Sephiroth took the turn to his manic, villainous self. And then we also learn Tifa actually doesn't remember things quite as Cloud remembered them, especially the fact that Cloud was there. Tifa doesn't remember that because she doesn't remember Cloud being there.
Right.
So weird things are happening. What's the deal with Cloud? I was trying to do a Jerry Seinfeld voice. Fail. But what is the deal with Cloud?
You're dating yourself.
No, is Seinfeld what? People know that. People know. What's the deal with no?
I mean, Seinfeld ended in 1999. It is now 2024.
Well, I watched it. I was not watching in 1999.
You weren't?
My dad probably was, but I watched it after that. That's like Friends. I never watched Friends when it was on air.
Really?
I watched it after.
You were around that time.
I know, but I watched it. I wasn't interested in Friends, sitcoms.
Can't read, don't like Friends.
What was I doing with my life? Well, we're going to hop into chapter 2. A new journey begins right after the break on AutoSave.
I must apologize for not introducing myself to you earlier. I'm Broden, the owner of this inn. Your companions have all stepped out. Oh, but Barrett left a message he wanted me to pass along to you. You missed roll call, soldier boy. Luckily, you're on leave for the day. Don't waste it, though. Get your equipment checked ASAP. Sound advice? Perhaps a trip to the arms dealer is in order?
Good idea.
By the way, Cloud, do you have any folios on you?
Yeah.
In that case, you might also want to pay a visit to Magnata Books. They have stores all over, but the first official one was built here in Kalm, and their resident scholars are remarkably talented. If you want to unlock the true potential of your folios, you should go see them. The first customization is always free.
All right, so we are in Kalm, and this is obviously where Barrett was there. Barrett read Tifa, Aerith. We're listening to Cloud's story, and now Cloud's woken up, and everyone ghosted him.
They went out early.
This happens to him quite a bit. They just leave him.
I think because they realize he is like always moody, that they just, get on with the day without him so that it doesn't ruin their mornings.
Oh, that's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
I remember I was really moody on a family trip one time, and no one wanted to talk to me in my family.
Been there. Been there.
Yeah,
done
been
that.
there. I feel for Cloud. in this moment. But Cloud gets up, and he's kind of looking for everyone, and he stumbles across the innkeeper, who's like right there, really dedicated to the work, delivering the message that everyone else headed out to the town to explore. And as we're leaving the inn, we come into contact with Red 13, who wants to actually properly thank us and thank Cloud, but I'm going to say us too, because we had a huge part in his escape, to get him out of the Shinra labs, which I thought was pretty sweet.
Yeah, and this is the first moment too where your answers mean something, right?
Exactly.
So if you want to date Red, make sure you're getting the right answer.
All good answers with Red. And you actually have a chance to explore the town at this moment. And as you do, you see Aerith. And she asks you if you want to join her later at the clock tower, kind of like a date. I was like, whoa, Aerith, this is a little too quick. All right, I got to talk to Tifa first, What was your decision here? How did you answer?
So I think this is one where I had to go back on my save because I wasn't sure, but I don't want to send Aerith a signal that I want to go on a date with her. But I felt like to progress a story, I had to. So I went on the date with her.
Yeah.
And that's what I chose, even though, I was conflicted in my mind because I was like, oh boy, what's Tifa? Is Tifa going to say something like in Remake where we had the flower and we gave it to Tifa, but it was Aerith's flower that she gave to us. Ox.
So bad.
You know what I mean?
Very ox.
Yeah.
Well, it was even more ox. I actually told her I was busy. Ooh. And she said, come on. Let's just go.
So you went anyway?
Yeah,
so
you have to go.
Okay, that makes sense.
You have to go.
Yeah.
But I think I gave her the impression that I'm not down.
That's good.
But she did say, luckily I speak your language. I'm like, oh, wait.
Oh, so see, she already knew that Cloud was moody.
Yeah, it's like she knows me. Maybe there is a connection, I don't know. But after that, after you agree to let Aerith take you to the clock tower, she decides to go get tickets. And you run into Tifa after that. Talk about an emotional roller coaster. I was a little nervous. She asked you about the water tower. I think it's a water tower that they had in Kalm, in the town. And asked if it looks similar, if it reminds you of anything. What was your answer here?
I don't remember, but it was the one that, like, I think all I remember is you or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
she liked that one.
Yeah. Nick says she loved that one. I think the best response you could give her is, it's the place. It reminds me of the place where I made the promise to you.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes, that's exactly where it
or
was.
You could say it's the one in Nibelheim. Or you could say, I don't know, it looks like a Mako reactor, which, come on, Cloud. I also gave the best response. So we're on the same path here. I think we're playing the same here, Nick. You end up meeting Aerith after that, which I'm just like, why didn't Tifa just say she wanted to go to the clock tower with me? That would have been so much cooler. But anyways, you end up in the clock tower with Aerith, and you're walking around giving date vibes, but something interrupts it.
Funny, isn't it? How small it looks?
It is far away.
So, did something happen between you and Tifa? Don't look so shocked. We're roommates, you know.
She say something?
Not about you two, no. Still, I can tell. I would have given anything to have a friend when I was growing up. Don't take her for granted.
Just
you know the drill! Find these terrorists!
They're looking for us, aren't they?
Gotta be.
And here comes Shinra, ruining a good moment. As Shinra helicopters fly over the town looking for the fugitives, Aerith and Cloud run down the clock tower and they see the innkeeper, Bowden, who helps us pretty much find a way to avoid Shinra. And we have to kind of sneak around the troopers that are going through the village asking about the fugitives. And we hear his Bowden's responses to them, and he's just the worst. Absolute worst at trying to act like he doesn't know what's going on. He's like, fugitives? I think I saw that. Maybe I didn't. It's like, oh, be more obvious.
What's I've never seen like a video game character as sweaty as Bowden, right? Like his complexion, and even it looks like he hasn't taken a shower in a few days. His hair is just pretty greasy.
Well, you know what, Nick? I don't know if he's okay, because those innkeeper outfits, they just need to step it up. They need to make it more breathable. That's what it is.
Oh, it's constricting.
It's his uniform is constricting all of the sweat from actually getting aired out. So we hear him do these bad excuses, but hey, the Shinra troopers fall for it. And he actually ends up helping us by distracting the soldiers. And then he leads us back to the inn, and we learn that there's a tunnel at the back of the inn. He also gives us a transmutation device that prompts for a tutorial, but you do have the option here to take the advice and get the tutorial or not. So I hope you did, because why not? Why wouldn't you?
I didn't.
Did you say no, you didn't?
I didn't know. Oh. Too much to learn. I'll learn it later. Whatever.
Who reads nowadays?
Just tell me what's happening. Like,
we're
tell
living
me how to
in
do
the
it.
future.
Don't show me. Tell me. Or sorry, show me. Don't tell me.
Yeah, I got what you were saying.
Thanks.
But again, we don't read enough.
Exactly.
To actually communicate it properly. Anyways, as we're heading into this tunnel, Cloud stops to ask why Bowden is helping the group, because if you think about it, there's actually a lot at risk. Shinra, obviously, we've seen how violent they could get. That poor reporter at the beginning of the game, just trying to do their job,
right?
Trying to deliver the daily news and gets knocked out with his camera crew. So there's a lot on the line. Like it could be very dangerous helping these fugitives. You could be called a fugitive or a terrorist as well, right? You don't want that. Bowden, what are you doing? But actually, Bowden then tells Cloud the reason. And it gets really serious at this point. He explains that him and the town has a history with Shinra. And as he finishes saying that, he starts coughing. What the heck, Shinra? What do you think that history is, if we had to throw spaghetti on the wall?
Well, I talked to him after the fact, so I know what it was. Right?
Oh.
Yeah, you can talk to him after you talk to him.
Oh, I just kept going.
To get more information. Oh, you did? Okay. Well, so he has Mako poisoning, and it's the same thing that I worry with Cloud is going to happen to him. But it looks like that Bowden is turning into one of the cloaked men. Is that my assumption?
Oh,
yes.
Wait, why do you think that?
Just based on everything he's talking about, how it's weakening him, whatever. I think they mentioned some sort of he gets flashbacks or something like that. But now I instantly feel bad about saying that he is greasy and hasn't taken a shower because he might be dying. So now
he's trying to sweat out the Mako poisoning.
I don't think it's working.
No, I don't think so as well. But also props to him for holding out this long and being able to do the runaround with the Shinra troops to help us out. But the fact that it's the whole town, it's not just, it's personal, obviously, for Bowden, but it's are they getting the Mako poisoning from the reactors? How is the poisoning affecting the whole town? I'm kind of curious on that.
So he used to be a soldier. So I think that's why he's poisoned. But like you mentioned, the history with Shinra, with the town, I feel like it's a common theme throughout maybe a lot of towns, like the slums in Sector 7. Everyone is jaded about Shinra. Kalm here, everyone's jaded about Shinra. I think the common theme here is Shinra is not very well liked amongst its townfolk.
Well, you know what? We get this unexpected ally, and I feel like just based on Shinra just being absolute jerks, we'll probably find a lot of unexpected allies throughout the way. But for now, we escape through the tunnel and meet the rest of the party, who obviously Bowden also had waiting in the tunnels. He's very resourceful here with that. But there is this quick exchange because Barra asks Aerith and Cloud, where were they? And before Cloud could answer, Aerith's kind of on a date. In front of Tifa, catches Tifa off guard, and she has this surprise reaction that broke my heart.
I was so pissed. This is why I didn't want to go on the date in the first place, because of that. And now Aerith is just, airing out our dirty laundry. And it's wow, you're ruining my chances, Aerith. What the hell?
Yeah. And also now it's kind of I think Barrett's cluing in that there may be this kind of love triangle between the three of them that makes for very awkward long pauses.
Yeah.
So as we long pause, the party heads to the grasslands of Kalm.
Wow. Just look at it all. It's so green. Breathing planet. Even after everything we've done to it, it's still going strong.
It may look that way, but in reality, it's barely hanging on.
Guess I still have a lot to learn.
What do you want to know?
For starters, how do we cross these plains?
Come on now, that's easy. The same way you get anywhere. Pick a direction and start walking. Left, your left, right. What?
I guess we won't be coming back anytime soon.
Guess not.
So as it starts to settle in with the group that they are in fact fugitives, meaning that they can't return to some of the places that they would want to see, like the town they were just in, they actually have to stay away because Shinra is out to get them. I also love the break of comedic timing here of Barrett.
Yeah.
Barrett's like, just point in a direction and walk, right? Which for being this leader and a part of Avalanche, you think he'd be a little bit more strategic than this.
You know who he reminds me of? Drax. With his comedic timing, right? Big, bulky guy, but he's got those jokes, in your back pocket, like that actually makes you laugh.
It does. And I'm so sad that no one at least just played it off like a joke, laughed with him.
I think they
just turned their backs and made him feel bad.
That's this video game in a nutshell. There's like long pauses, awkwardness. Cloud takes forever to say things, and no one acknowledges jokes, which I would have 1000% laughed hysterically.
I would have as well. Well, as we continue through, in the grasslands of Kalm, we actually meet Bill. And if you forget who Bill is, Bill actually helped us escape to Kalm at the end of Remake. We hitched a ride on his truck to get there. And guess what? That truck's broken down. He is, trying to find his way back. He said pretty much that he would offer us a ride, but his truck's broken down. Sad. Would have helped us a lot figure out where we have to go. Cloud asked him if there's somewhere that they could kind of just regroup, a cabin, or if there's some place quiet, which was a weird interaction because Bill was like, oh, I remember how it is to be your age and in love. Was that weird? I was like,
I don't think it's
like that.
Weird.
That was a weird response for what Cloud was asking.
Well, you could clearly see the love in the air, right? With all these characters.
I guess so. But we learned that there's a dock on the other side of the swamps in Kalm. So the party could kind of lay low there, as we know Shinra's in the area. So we want to keep it on the down low where we are. But in order to get through to the swamps, when we arrive there, we actually find that there is a Midgar Somar? I think it's called Midgar Somar?
Midgar Somar.
Midgar Somar?
That's you say it like kind of like really fast. It's weird.
Okay. Well, it's a Midgar Somar.
Midgard Somar. Midgar Somar?
Midgard Somar.
I always forget how to say it properly.
Same here. So but I think it is a Midgar Somar. And this is a beast that resides in the swamp. So to help cross, hopefully staying away from this beast, you need a chocobo in order to ride through the swamps. So we head to Chocobo Ranch to find a chocobo and Who do we find? Bill. Conveniently, instead of giving us a ride, his truck, the tire's fine now. And when he says that, Cloud and Tifa look at each other like they know what's up. They know Bill didn't want to give us a ride in the first place. He was lying. His vehicle probably wasn't even wrecked.
No, come on. Bill's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy, but you can be nice and still not want to do too many favors for someone. Like, they're young kids. Use your legs.
Because love is in the air, okay? You didn't want them making out at the back of the truck.
I guess so. Well, you know what? The parties, their legs are tired and they need a chocobo. So Bill tells us to meet Billy. And Billy gives very much Chadley vibes. I really did not like Billy as soon as I saw him.
Why? I don't think he gives me Chadley vibes. He gives me like not a main character vibe, but he gives me Final Fantasy main character personality. Okay. You know, like a Titus or something like that, or people call him Titus. I'm not sure.
Titus,
I say
yeah.
Titus, but like, or you know, just a Zidane kind of character. I don't know, like feisty. He seems feisty, right?
Yeah, he does seem feisty, but he also seems very annoying, which is like too Chadley for me. Okay. So I was already turned off when he was telling us that we could buy a chocobo for 10,000 gil. Who has 10,000 gil in this economy?
Especially these guys. Billy? They're like they're gypsy travelers, basically.
Exactly. You know, like they're travelers. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They haven't had time to grab money from Shinra headquarters when they escaped, although I would have. And then he jokes again about it being 1,000 gil, which is very expensive too. And then I think he sees the reaction of the party and is like, you know what? There's this chocobo named Pico.
I think Pico.
Where if you find Pico, this chocobo, he escaped. If you find him, you bring him back. You could keep him, and we'll also include some riding lessons in there too. So, you know, I guess Billy isn't too bad. Billy's not bad. Also, Billy and Bill, why are they related?
They might be related. I'm not sure. But yeah, why would one character be Bill and the other character be Billy?
And they're like not even characters in different chapters, or like not in the same. They're literally, you encounter one character and go to the next.
But they're not like father and son. It's not like Bill and Senior and Bill Junior.
No, it's so weird. Is Bill like, maybe Bill is his grandfather? I don't know.
Maybe.
That may make sense.
Yeah.
Okay. That was confusing. I just got that just now. Anyways, Billy says talk to his sister Chloe to see what's for sale. Always about the money, Billy. And she tells us the tea on Billy, saying that he is actually, in fact, always about the money, but especially after their parents left. And as she starts to open up to tell us what's happening with her parents, guess who shows up and shuts that conversation down? It's Billy. Billy says, Chloe, don't tell these strangers what's going down. But there's hints there that it may actually be Chocobo Sam as some sort of reason that their parents left.
Remember Chocobo Sam?
Yeah, Chocobo Sam.
From Remake,
he's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, he's gorgeous. Yeah. That's how you remember him.
Yep. You're dang right. And with Chocobo Sam, we learn that, well, with Chocobo Sam now in the conversation, I obviously just got flustered. So let me just recount my thoughts. Okay, yeah. So Chloe is kind of hinting that Chocobo Sam, like that the party could actually help the group against whatever they think Chocobo Sam is doing, which I thought Chocobo Sam was a nice guy.
No, he wasn't. He tried to fool us with his double-sided coin in Remake. You remember?
He has a nice face. He's a nice guy, Nick.
Just because he has a cowboy hat doesn't mean anything, and a beard doesn't mean anything.
He has his reasons, Nick,
okay.
All right?
All right.
Don't call him a villain yet. But anyways, we have to put that thought on hold as we head off to find Pico. We end up in a field with all these wild chocobo, and we have to learn how to wrangle Pico in. And pretty much what you do is you sneak up to Pico and you throw rocks away from him in order to clear a path with the other chocobos. So to grab their attention, so they focus on that rock and clears a path so it doesn't alert all of them and have Pico running away. How'd you do in this moment?
Not my favorite. Didn't think that I would be able, or didn't think that I would have to do stealth missions in these games. So right now I'm at a counter of climbing, okay, and stealth missions. I did not sign up for Assassin's Creed-like things in this game, and I'm not liking it right now. And the chocobos noticed me quite a few times, so maybe that's why I'm salty.
Really? Yeah, I think you're just salty. You know what? I love the Assassin's Creed stealth element here and throwing the rocks in the other direction. Although there were so many times where I had to like remind myself to slow down because I was just really excited to wrangle in Pico because I've been waiting to get a chocobo in the party. So we finally do. We get Pico and we send Pico. Well, firstly, they realize the similarities between Pico and Cloud, which was hilarious. They start staring at Pico because Pico's feathers kind of fan out around the head, similar to Cloud's hairstyle, which I thought was funny.
So did I. But this won't be the first time that we see a character with similar hairstyles to Cloud. That's just a little spoiler for you.
I mean, this is Final Fantasy, so
it's true.
All the characters at one point will have hair like Cloud.
This is the only thing about these kind of characters, or like characters in anime as well, is if they try to do films for these games and movies or animes or whatever, the hair just isn't right. You can't get the hair the way it, like how cool it is. You know what I mean? The spikes. Yeah. You can never get the spikes properly. No amount of gel is ever going to get those spikes proper.
Because it doesn't look good in real life.
Exactly.
That is why.
Like a Sephiroth real-life character, I still think would kind of look weird. What? I don't know if they could pull off a Sephiroth, even though his hair is like down. Life? Yeah. But I'm not sure it would still work to that effect.
Well, I don't think they could pull off a Sephiroth because there's no one as beautiful as him on this earth in real life. But that's a discussion for later, Nick.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have that.
For now, yeah, we definitely will. For now, we actually get back to Billy, and he's just so happy that we found Pico and says to hold on tight as he gets all of, I guess, like, what is he doing? Clipping Pico's, like, talons? I have no idea, but he just needs time to. So we take that time to get Pico ready so we could ride a chocobo. In the meantime, you make a little right. You walk down some dusty road, and the last person in the whole canon of Final Fantasy shows up, Chadley.
The last person you want to see, right? Is what you're saying?
Oh yeah, well, last person in my eyes in the whole.
Did you expect seeing Chadley at all? Because I was very surprised that we were going to get another look at Chadley.
Yeah, I was actually surprised as well because if you remember last time when we saw Chadley, it was revealed that he was in fact working with Shinra and he was in the facility.
He wasn't working for them, and he escaped.
Well, he was,
didn't he?
No, remember he had his the AR thing in the actual building.
I thought he like escaped.
But he didn't tell us. That was the whole thing. Like, we just thought he was just like some weird guy.
Well, he is still
and then
we
learned,
guy.
We're like, oh, he's actually a Shinra employee. Like, we used his key pass.
Oh, yeah. It's been a while. Okay, I understand now.
Right? It's and that made me not like Chadley even more. It's like, you know what's going on, Chadley. That's some crucial information you should tell us off the bat.
There are certain things or characters I didn't want to see in Rebirth. Chadley is one of them. If we have to do more workout quests, I'm out.
Wait, I actually loved the workout, but you know what? We could.
There's so many.
Talk about the
just
gym
please, just please.
You were like, you're over.
So when I saw Chadley, I was just like, do we really have to do Chadley missions again? Can it be like someone else other than Chadley? I hate his stupid monocle.
His monocle made a comeback, and the worst part is Chadley knows that we think he's a weirdo. He makes a comment. He's like, I know what you're thinking. He like scans Cloud for an inner monologue, and then he's like, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, what is this weirdo doing here? And it's like, so Chadley, what are you doing here? And he pretty much tells us that he's doing more research. He is an ex-employee of Shinra, and he also further explains the fact that Hojo made him. He reminds us.
Yeah.
Hojo actually made him. I don't know if he reminds us or is this the first time he's saying
he's
this.
AI, right? Like he's
like a cyborg.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Hojo made. But he still doesn't reassure us that nothing's linked to Shinra right now.
I'm sure
he just says,
okay. I trust him.
Well, I don't care if he's
You don't
okay.
trust him.
I just don't want him telling our locations to Hojo.
Okay.
But I digress. He's continuing his research and he wants our help. Such a Chadley move. And pretty much what this means is that we could explore the world or, the whole game. And really, there's 3 type of missions that Chadley does. There's combat assignments, which we're used to from Remake if you played. But now we have crystal analysis and proto-relic salvaging. So some new features Chadley upgraded and made himself even more boring. Great, Chadley.
So many quests. Thank you, Chadley. Because if you see like the bar, once he unlocks it, the bar of quests, there's these little circles that tell us how many you can do or are done. It's like 30. There's 30 of them.
It's so annoying. And you have to unlock the towers. So there's these towers you have to unlock. And then there's lots of fiends that are in the area of the towers.
And then when you unlock the towers, it shows locations to more quests.
Ugh, so annoying.
It's like, again, it's like Eagle Vision in Assassin's Creed.
Here we go.
They're just ripping it off.
They're ripping it off. But you know what? I think Chadley brought us down enough for this episode. So let's move on. We finally learn how to ride a chocobo with Billy, and we get the chocobo whistle, so we could call our chocobo Pico, who is now with us. We also learn through reading a sign that there's gold saucer races that happen, and Billy's chocobos actually race in them, but he kind of put that on pause since his parents left. And he makes a comment that he wants to beat someone, and I think it's Chocobo Sam.
Chocobo Sam or Chadley?
I would want to beat up Chadley. But I think he wants to beat in these races Chocobo Sam's chocobos.
For revenge.
For revenge of whatever happened.
Yes.
But I really think Chocobo Sam would take it. As of now, Billy.
Yeah.
I don't think you have that experience. Let's meet your parents. Let's figure out what happened to your parents. And then maybe you could dream big and beat Chocobo Sam.
Are they dead, or did they just go to the corner store to grab some milk? Like, what happened?
But that's the thing. Chloe, it didn't sound like they were dead.
No.
Because it just said, it sounds like maybe they were supposed to be back from a trip and they just haven't come back yet.
So they went to the corner store. And
they went and got
milk.
You
know what, Bill?
Yeah.
All the trash talk you said of Bill, he's created a home for Billy and Chloe. So I want you to take back.
Did he create a home, or did he have to, out of grandfatherly obligations, have them on his farm?
Grandparents are the nicest human beings on the planet.
But they're kind of obligated to be nice.
Obligated?
Yeah, the grandparents.
Wow.
Grandparents have to be nice.
It's
a rule.
That is interesting take. That's the first I've ever heard a take like that before. Don't trust your grandparents.
No, they have to be nice. Grandparents have to be nice.
They don't have to.
It doesn't mean
they
that.
Can be mean.
Yeah.
All right.
Unless they're like step grandparents. That's what fairy tales teach me, anyways. Let's move on.
Wait a minute.
Like there's always like a stepmother,
yeah,
or a step
there's
grandmother,
never a step grandmother.
By the end of this episode, I will think of one.
You're just making up fairy tales.
Well, it's a step. There has to be like a step.
You don't even know the plot of Cinderella properly.
Wasn't it a step grandmother?
It was the fairy godmother. I think that's maybe what you're confusing, the stepmother and the god.
No, Snow White. Wasn't there like a step, or was that a stepmother?
No, that was Cinderella. There was no step anybody in Snow White.
Is step grandmother? Isn't the witch?
No, she showed up and gave her an apple. as like a old lady, but like a non-threatening old lady. You're Googling it, but I'm pretty sure I have the facts straight.
All I have now is like
there's no step grandmother.
Now I just I Googled it and all these Cocomelon videos show up. So we're not going down that route. I don't need a song stuck in my head.
This went off the rails. Okay.
I'm pretty sure producer Dylan's just like, what is happening? Anyways, I don't know what happened to their parents. All I know is that Billy cannot beat Sam at this point, and I want to know what happened.
I think Chloe does explain to us what happened, but I sped through that cutscene.
You're like, all right, Chloe. Billy's the
Enough
one.
of you.
Billy's the one that's more colorful. Billy's gonna be a star. I don't want to listen to you, Chloe. Anyways, we hear from Billy that the troopers actually left Kalm, and you actually unlock this game called Hustle to Chocobo, which I found really funny. I don't know why.
Did you? Why is it? Because it's called Hustle to Chocobo?
Yeah. What's
so funny about it?
It's like these chocobos are hustling. I just think of they're like hustling for money, I don't think like they're hustling to run, but it is a racing game. So that's why I hustled a chocobo. I just picture them with like a bunch of hats and like smoking a cigar and asking if you want watches.
I also didn't realize that the troopers left Kalm.
Yeah.
Because that would have helped me out. Because when I spent a lot of time there, but I wasn't sure when to go back to Kalm, and I ended up going back to Kalm eventually, but don't remember that beat where Billy actually tells us.
Yeah, Billy said the troopers left Kalm, which is like also why then do we need to look for the dock and the place to lay low? But I guess we didn't like the inn anyways. We don't want that Mako poisoning. So we're going to be on our own in this cabin. Anyways, we do go to find the dock where we could lay low. So as we continue through the swamp, the chocobos get scared off because we see the Midgar Somer appear through, I don't know.
It's so hard to you're just trying to get through what you're saying, but then you have to say Midgar Somer. It's just a tough word.
Yeah, it is Midgar Somer, which is like, you want to say Midgard.
You do, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why. Anyways, Midgar Somer. We do hear it and we see it coming out of the water, and it has a lot of HP. This triggers a boss battle. This was an intense boss battle, especially as it goes through its different forms and it gets its scorching breath. Yeah. That was horrible.
This was a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah.
Oh wait, are we still talking?
How did you?
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. How did you go through it?
I tried to stagger it as best I could, but the defense seemed like it was really difficult.
Yeah, there was like nothing. I guess it's the scales that make it very impenetrable, and it's so tough. Like nothing. I felt like nothing was knocking down its health.
It didn't have a weakness, or it might have been fire, which was the weakness.
No, I don't. Blizzard. No. Yeah,
that's where so. I tried to use spells. Because I think you could buy some materia at Bill's place. So I made sure that I had some spells to use, and that was the way I was able to at least knock it down a lot. Because the attacks don't do much. But I was surprised at how difficult this was apart from the Sephiroth walkthrough. But like our biggest boss battle to start, I was like, wow, and Midgar Stormer. If you don't know, Final Fantasy buff, that's like a high level tier boss in most games. And I was surprised to see him already.
This game is just telling us that it's not giving us a break.
No.
Go hard or go home. And guess what? Cloud doesn't go hard because we almost get defeated by this Midgar Somer as it submerges Cloud. It grabs Cloud and then submerges him into the swamp and dives down. How deep is this swamp? Weren't they just swimming in it? Like, weren't the chocobos just riding through this swamp?
I don't think a swamp is inaccurate for how, like, this is a lake. This isn't a swamp.
This is so deep.
And now I'm starting to think that's maybe where I saw Sephiroth.
Yes, we did see Sephiroth there.
So maybe
he does
my
kind of
mind
do a
is
wink.
Playing tricks on me,
Yeah.
just like Cloud's is.
Exactly. We do see Sephiroth, and well, I mean, he's beautiful.
You remember who I am?
Aerith.
It's good to have you back, Cloud.
Sephiroth? I knew he was strong, but still. Those guys are looking for him too. They've got to be.
Yeah, I kind of get that feeling as well.
Let's not lose him.
All right, so we see Cloud explain to everyone that Sephiroth saved him, and that's kind of what happened. So in the water, Sephiroth appears as Cloud is about to pass out and kills the Midgardsormr.
Yeah.
He like throws him up and like puts him on a stake, like a piece of wood, a tree, like a skewer. It was really weird.
It was, but
Wrapped up so nicely.
so Sephiroth was actually there.
Well, it had to be, unless there was some power that came out of Cloud,
Ooh,
right?
that's a good theory if that's the case. Like protecting Cloud so that he doesn't perish in this situation. What if
Right?
Sephiroth activates? Wow, that's a great point. I didn't even think about that.
I don't know. But this triggers the team to actually follow the cloaked figures that they see nearby of Sephiroth, who conveniently, which I think this is what Cloud saw earlier in the distance when he said, "Oh, look, it's Sephiroth." I think it was one of the cloaked figures. And they start following them. And this kicks off chapter 3, deeper into the darkness. As we're following them, Cloud makes a joke that, like, yeah, I'll continue through with this, like, going to follow them for 200 gil. And Aerith says, that's enough for her standard course twice, right? What is she referring to?
Was it 200 or 2,000?
2,000.
2,000,
Sorry,
okay.
2,000 gil.
Don't know what she's referring to at all.
Because the only thing that came to my mind, because Cloud was very embarrassed and Tifa was very interested, and Aerith didn't quite say what it was, like it's an inside joke. How much was that massage?
I think it was 500 gil, wasn't it?
I don't know. I don't know. If you know what they're talking about here, because that joke went over my head, and I was like, ooh, that's a pretty good joke if she's talking about the massage. But if not...
It's got to be the massage, right?
I think so,
Or is
right?
that-
Which... Because Aerith was the only one there. Tifa wasn't there. They didn't talk about it after.
Yeah, I mean, why would they talk about it? What have we just experienced in that situation?
So that was kind of like, I was like, anyone know? We don't know. Let us know what you think it is. But we do continue without the 2,000 gil into the mithril mines, and we see these shadowy figures climbing up a path. But some of the pathway actually collapses, and some of them, still dazed in their walk, just fall down the mines. Like, they don't scream. And I know it's not funny.
Yeah.
They could have been injured.
Right.
But they don't scream. There's no reaction from the others that don't fall. It's very weird. And it has Tifa kind of concerned for their safety. So in an effort to see if the ones that fell are okay, Barrett volunteers himself to actually head down to check if those fallen, shadowy, cloaked figures are okay, and Red 13 actually decides to go with him. So now we're left with Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith, who continue through to the mines, and we encounter some fiends on the way. And we get a clearer understanding of how big these mines actually are. And we kind of lose track of the whispers. I think they got lost along the way, the trio. We get lost on the way because we don't actually see any whispers around us. But instead, we see someone else. And before we see them, we actually start eavesdropping. We see Rude and Elena. Rude, who you remember, is one of the Turks from Remake,
Yep.
and it looks like he has a new partner. We learn that from listening to them, Reno is actually on recovery. Remember, the Turk with the red head?
Yep.
Because he got just murked. That Turk got murked. in remake, so he's still on the road of recovery. And Elena, actually, she seems very eager.
Yes.
And very much like a go-getter, kind of like a rookie, which I guess she is since she's new to the Turks. But as, we hear their plans to follow these shadowy figures as well, because that's what they're sent on this mission for, and that's why they're in the mines. We hear Tifa kind of like give away the party's location, and that leads to an encounter between the Turks and our party. And luckily, Red 13 and Barrett show up and make a theatrical entrance in the middle of the fight. And just as the battle's getting good, it's interrupted by another Turk.
Better keep that toy where I can see it, lest you want a hole in your head. Now then. Y'all got a lot to answer for. A lot of blood on your hands.
You need someone to blame. I suggest you look in the mirror. For us, however, things have changed. While you're still wanted fugitives, if you stay out of our way, we'll stay out of yours.
Oh yeah? Bullshit!
Take care of Aerith for me. Elena!
Nice one, Red!
So Sang shows up, and if you remember Sang, you know that he's kind of like the big boss of the Turks. Yep. And he was actually in charge of keeping tabs on Aerith as well. So he shows up and he kills one of the cloaked figures. What did they do to you? Weird. And then also says to the group that they're partially to blame. Like they're looking for someone to blame because of the Sector 7 plate falling. Right. They played a role in that as well, which is interesting to hear. Elena ends up having a grenade in her hand and turns into a soccer player and kicks that grenade towards the party.
Yeah.
Which I was dying of laughter. I was like, okay, cool. She's a soccer player now. And this was a really cool move. Red 13 blocks it, or actually parries it to the sky, but that causes part of the ground that's under the party to collapse, making Barrett and Red 13 fall to the ground, separated from the group as they're deeper into the mines. So now you actually take control of Barrett. And as you do that, the music changes, and it's pretty good. This was a good soundtrack. I loved it. Now, playing as Barrett, remember, you do have more far-reaching attacks, which is a great switch up from what we've played so far. How are you liking this?
Good. Again, it feels really smooth. I like playing as Barrett. I also like the idea that I just like when the party splits up and it forces you to play certain characters rather than you always picking the same party all the time if you want to. Play it that way, but I just like... It's almost like getting to know characters as well. Like maybe I don't know. It's like, you know what? It's like Friends, where like Phoebe and Joey hang out in one episode. Yeah, and they get to like interact with each other. I like this situation where I don't know
the different dynamics, right?
I don't know if Barrett and Red have spent too much time together, at least in gameplay. So it's nice that even though one, they didn't die, that's good, but then two, we kind of get this story with just them, which is fun as well. I also want to mention, why did the Turks not want Aerith anymore?
Very interesting. Yeah, we do hear saying mention that, which I feel like we're gonna have to think about that a little bit more as we head into the last part of our episode. But for now, we do make our way through the depths and we gain some XP along the way. So there's some fiends in here. It's a great way to gain some XP for Barrett and Red 13 because I don't think they get much love They're usually not the first choice. Although Red 13 is pretty cool. I really like playing as Red 13 as well.
My my 3 that I normally use is Cloud, Barret, Aerith. As Aerith has Cure, Barret can shoot from far range, and then Cloud just does everything else.
Oh, smart. You're thinking more strategic. I'm just thinking about the characters that make sense for the story. Anyways, we finally link back with, or actually, before we, as we go through the depths, we encounter the mithril golem, and this triggers another boss battle, which was pretty interesting. I wasn't expecting another boss battle.
Yeah.
This one definitely more manageable. How did you do?
Pretty fair. Like, again, I don't know if I even classify this as a boss battle. Just seems like a mid-tier enemy. And I wiped the floor. Well, I don't want to get into it here, but again, like, maybe we'll mention this in the third segment, but I'm a little overpowered at this point. Okay, so.
Nick. Oh no, he went ahead. He's overpowered. Well, I found this a little difficult, and I found Red 13 is actually very useful.
He's really strong, right?
Yeah.
Like, his attacks are very powerful.
Plus, he has it's a shooting star, or like a attack. It like rains down like a bunch of. You know what I'm
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the words, so I'm leaving you out to try.
Nick just left me hanging, but it's I think it's like a shooting or like a meteor shower or something like that, or something weird type of astronomical
event
sounding attack. But I found that was very helpful, especially this is a rock enemy. But once we finally take out the mithril golem, we head back and we link up with the group in the Old Republic tunnels.
Hey!
What took you?
Stumbled on the killer rock formation and couldn't tear ourselves away, right?
The ground here could give way at any moment. We shouldn't linger.
True, but don't forget, Shinra knows we're here now. Might be more of them outside.
That doesn't make any difference to me. I ain't stopping, not for them or anyone. Not after Midgar. Not after what we saw. We all know what's at stake here. The fate of the world. So if they get in our way, that's on them.
Right.
So just how Nick had me hanging, Red 13 had Barret hanging after that joke, because that was pretty good when he's like, you know, we were battling we saw a killer rock formation. He's talking about the mythic golem. And Red 13 just ignores that joke. Anyways, I was kind of peeved by that. Yeah. But more importantly, Barret does mention that there is a bigger picture here. It's not just going after Sephiroth. He reminds us that the fate of the world is at stake. Remember at the end of Remake, they did have a vision of a meteor crashing into the world. And it kind of looked like the apocalypse, like everything was just done. So to get answers for that, Barret understands that they have to keep going forward, even if the Turks and Shinra are up against them, or even whatever danger lies ahead, they have to face it head on for the fate of the world. How do you think now it's really settling in? Because there was a lot that the group went through at the end of Remake, but it still seems like they haven't really talked about everything.
Well, which is a great point, because I completely forgot about the meteor. Even in the opening montage of the game, it showed us fighting Sephiroth, but I completely forgot that the whole point of all this is to kind of like stop a meteor from happening and wiping out humanity.
Yeah.
But yeah,
did they just come out of that and be like, everyone see that vision? Everyone? Oh, okay, cool.
I think it's a case of, again, this is the start of the game. So as we're, as a player, getting accustomed to our surroundings, so are the characters, and they didn't want to like put too much info all at once. But yeah, this is not just trying to figure out what these cloaked men are doing or going to, but also that the fate of the world is part of this, and you know they're still trying to track down Sephiroth.
Yeah, and in that vision, of course, if you need a refresher, the meteor at the center of the meteor was Sephiroth as well. So they do know that he holds the question to, or holds the answer to stopping what their vision showed of this meteor crashing onto the world. And with that, we're going to actually leave segment 2 as we head into segment 3 and find out what is on the other side of the mines.
Check it out.
Just them?
Guess so.
Oh my god.
He ain't coming back.
That city they're headed to, is that...
Junon. Shinra territory. Come on.
Well, it didn't end well for most of the shadowy figures because now their numbers dwindled from what we saw going into the mines. And not only that, one last one is carried away by a monster. Oh my gosh, the game is really putting these shadowy figures to work. I felt so bad actually. But on the plus side, we're alive.
These cloaked guys are just like dying left, right, center. Sang just puts a bullet in one for sport. This bird is just taking them away, and they're just defenseless. I feel bad because it just seems like they're just not even there, which is true.
Yeah, but what do you think has that hold over them to not even run out of the way?
They're just following wherever Sephiroth is. That's my guess.
All right. They're just mindless drones.
Yes.
But we do see them heading for Junon, which is in Shinra territory, which probably isn't good for the party. But before we get into... I know, it's going to be trouble. But, no. And that ends pretty much this episode. There are a few things that I want to talk about, Nick, before we officially end the episode. I have a few questions, hoping you could provide some answers.
Okay.
The group obviously now has this renewed energy and purpose of why they're here and what they're doing. What do you think, they also have this sympathy for these cloaked figures. What do you think is happening there? Do you think it's just that they're clones? Do you think that these figures are people? Because then clones, I think we just inherently think of clones as not people when we talk in general. Right, about games. Right. But you see that the group is still thinking of them as people, except Cloud and maybe Barrett.
No, Barrett's pretty sympathetic about them, right? He tried to save them.
I think he only tried to save them because Tifa wanted them saved.
I got a sense that he actually cared. That's just my thought. But again, my whole theory on all of this is, and it kind of is leading towards it or semi-explaining what's going on, is these are ex-soldiers who have been dealing with Mako poisoning. I think Bowden that we saw, the innkeeper earlier, is the transitionary. It's the first person we've seen that is almost like that transition before you turn into the zombie clone, and you're kind of losing your memories, you're losing your will, whatever it is. I just think that's what they are, and then their purpose is to serve Sephiroth. How that is the case, I'm not sure, but again, as we've seen, whenever we see Sephiroth in certain situations, if we kill him or defeat him in battle or whatever, a clone shows up and it kills the clone. So there is some connection here. What that is, I'm not entirely sure, and where they're going, I guess we'll find out. But it's just strange seeing them wander. Like, where are they actually going? And we saw them start at Midgard a long time ago, and they have continuously been a very integral part of this game so far. And I don't fully remember everything from the original, but I'm trying to piece it together a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how their feet look. They've been walking for...
with no shoes. Yeah.
Walking with no
they got
shoes.
Giant calluses.
Calluses, probably a foot infection. Ugh. Anyways, we do have this question about Sephiroth and Cloud. You mentioned that connection. We see Sephiroth in the murky waters of the swamp.
Yep.
But it's definitely changed how we see Sephiroth now, even in chapter 1, how we saw him. Before, in Remake, we more so saw him when there were those static flashes. Now we're not really seeing that. Why do you think that is? Like, my best bet is, like, maybe there's a stronger connection now that Cloud knows more about what Sephiroth's doing. Like, I don't know why it's different.
Maybe because we got so many flashes in the first game that they're giving us a little break in this one, which would be nice. But again, don't understand why he saved Cloud from the monster before. I'm still, again, if you listen back to episode 1, we have many questions that have yet to be answered here, and I think this just adds a few more, where we're really gonna have to pay attention, I think, a lot more than we are. Certain situations that might not necessarily be big cutscenes, but just maybe pay attention. They're trying to tell us something.
Maybe just pay attention. They're trying to tell us something. You know who was saying nothing? The group. They were not talking about the concerns for Cloud at all to Cloud, which would be very important. That was infuriating. But I did think going around Kalm in the grasslands was very peaceful, besides the monsters, to help get my mind off of the frustration of the party. How did you handle going around the open world bit here?
Well, as we transition to the mines in the actual story, I never went there for like 20 hours. As soon as we escaped Kalm and we got the objectives from Chadley, that was my goal. So I literally went through every side quest in the grasslands until it was 100% complete. I went back to Kalm. I finished all the side quests there. I did every nook and cranny there was possible before getting to the crystal mines. And I think I was at 25 hours before I even got to the 3rd chapter.
No way.
Yeah. So that's why I said that Barret was overpowered, because I think I even got another weapon with Barret. I had unlocked a bunch of skills already.
Oh my gosh.
There are so many side quests that I did that I'm sure we'll talk about eventually, but I did every single one. I took pictures. I did Chocobo fast points, intel. I did summon. I think the Titan summon is part of this the grasslands to unlock. There's it's a hefty amount of stuff.
There was a lot. I did not do that, so I think we already know how this playthrough is going to be. I'm going to be like, oh, Nick, this is so hard.
So many, like, there's a whole like side storyline with goons, and then the goons, and then a special character that like warps you like warp into a different dimension.
What?
And then you see this character, which I know who the character is because I love Final Fantasy, and then you warp back, and then that's another quest line.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! All right, I got to put hours into
it's
this
hard
game
though because
catch up.
Like it's 15 hours. Well, but maybe again I play slow, but I would say like it's a good 5 to 7.
Oh man! All right, well I got to catch up on this game, but I do have one last question for you. The big question, which you brought up briefly, the Turks. They are shifting their focus to these shadowy figures and following them, even though Avalanche is still wanted fugitives. Wouldn't you want both? Wouldn't you want Avalanche and the shadowy figures? I'm very confused.
I think, listen, I don't really understand because one, Aerith was their priority in Remake, and now they're just like, you keep her. They're on another mission, but also the one confusing thing I have is that Avalanche are terrorists, and the Turks work for Shinra. So it seems like Shinra doesn't even care about what they're doing. Why is that the case? Right? I think there's a bigger picture here where maybe Shinra has decided that these guys are small fries. Are they after Sephiroth too? I don't know. Have they even seen Sephiroth? Does Hojo know what's happening exactly? Then there's that whole situation with Integrade and Yuffie and that terrible scary monster final boss. That mutation or whatever it was, that's still around. So I don't know.
I don't know as well. I just think why not have both? Like Sang could have taken them out probably, or at least one of them out.
Well,
but it also seems like he does trust them in a sense. So maybe the Turks need our party for something. He does trust them to take care of Aerith, which I guess he realizes the connection that the party has made. But it seems like he's not quite done with our group yet.
We saw Sang, he was nice, kind of nice to us in the first game too. There's something about him that he's, I don't know. Not that I trust him.
He's getting more attractive to me.
Is he? Not Pitbull? Rude?
No.
Mr. 305?
No, Mr. 305 is not doing it. No.
He's not doing it for you.
Well, I feel like it's going to get harder for the group as they head into Junon. You know, it's going to get complicated. Now the Turks know that they're there. We're heading into Shinra territory. It's not going to be easy, so I feel like there's going to have to be some other surprise allies.
Don't just stand there. Help me. You're on chest compressions.
Got it.
Now, start.
You picked the wrong girl, creep! What?
Who will they be? Well, we'll find out next time on AutoSave. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Nick Andrade and myself, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Zeiser. Technical production by Greg Fillion. Executive producer Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now. And if it happens to be Apple Podcasts, kindly leave us a rating and a review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.